How do we ponder a being that is outside of space and time? One who created everything from nothing, including our consciousness, which is able to ponder even his very existence. How do we relate to that? It seems impossible. This is where, in my opinion, and I've looked over this quite a bit, the only answer that makes sense is the Bible and Christ, especially. I want to start with the Bible. It's kind of a roadmap for the soul. Since it is impossible to comprehend that all-knowing, omnipotent being, we've been trying to make sense of God since the beginning of time, since the beginning of man, at least our written records of him. You think about most religions, almost every religion before the Abrahamic religions, which are Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Before that, it was mainly polytheistic religions, meaning many gods. The Abrahamic religions are monotheistic, one God. So the polytheistic religions, it seems like they are, basically, they all seem to have a kind of idea of, yeah, there was a creator and all that, but that creator just created everything and he's gone. He's out. That was it. He created all these angelic type beings, or small g gods, to rule over all of us, and that was the hierarchy. And it's kind of interesting because you also see that in the Bible, which have the angels and the hierarchy of the angels, and it all seems to kind of tie in together of what early civilizations that we know about already, anywhere from 1,000 to 12,000 years ago, they were all making sense of this and trying to understand the beings that were ruling them at the time, whether it was an ancient race of advanced humans or aliens or actual small g gods and angels themselves. We don't know. All we can do is kind of take our best guess, and it's really fun to think about. I have a lot of fun thinking about it, but it does kind of hurt your brain when you get into the big G God, the one God, the God of everything, our creator, the first mover, whatever you want to call him. When you get into the big G God, you get into something that is incomprehensible. So how do we relate to that? How? Well, as much as it's maligned and so many people have shunned it just because, for so many reasons, but the main reason is because now that science shows us so much of these things that the early man were trying to make sense of, since they can see, hey, we obviously know what this is. We know why the sun, how the earth orbits the sun and the moon orbits the earth and all that fun stuff. So we know all that. There's so much we still don't know. We don't know almost anything about consciousness. If obviously, at some point, something can come from nothing. So the laws of physics, energy cannot be created nor destroyed, only changed. That obviously was not true and is not true in at least some parts of our universe. Because at some point, there was a beginning. Perhaps someday there'll be an end, but it might be eternal. We don't know. I feel like, for me, all of the energy and all the consciousness especially will be, we're kind of expanding as a universe. And then when we start to contract, we will all join together. All of our consciousness will be long gone by then, hopefully. Hopefully it doesn't happen tomorrow. I don't see that happening, but what do I know? Anything is possible. So as we're contracting back together, we all join and we all are one with God again. So we all were one with God in the beginning, and we all will be one with God again, and all answers will be known. And we think, oh, that's billions, maybe even longer, maybe even trillions of years away. But time does not matter in the spiritual and divine realms. Time is a concept that God created to bring order to this chaos, along with all the laws of physics, all the laws of nature that we know of. He gave us inherent morals. He instilled us with everything we need. He put us on this planet that's perfect for us, that has everything we need. We just have to figure out how to use it and not waste it, not use it for destruction. Because everything, even the things that are considered bad for humanity, can be something that is used to create instead of destroy. You see that in nuclear technology. Obviously, the nuclear bomb, the atom bomb, and hydrogen bombs, and all that stuff is awful. It really is. It really is. One madman can pretty much put an end to our world as we know it. Maybe even the end of mankind with just one bad day. Now, luckily, the deterrence and everything have kept us from doing that so far, but at some point it may happen. And who knows? Maybe that's when God has to step in. Maybe that's the end of days story of Revelations and all the other predictions of the end of days. So we come to how do all the religions tie into that? As I said, I believe they were making sense of what they could. And I do believe that God gave us, at least some of us, but I think it's all of us. But then again, I don't know. I'm just doing my best from what He shows me. He gave us the ability to connect with Him. And He wants us to connect with Him and not all these false idols, not all these, small g gods or whatever we're worshiping now. AI, some people are worshiping AI as a god. It's something inherent in all of us that we will fill that void with something. So we will fill that void with drugs, alcohol. We'll fill that void with the lack of God, the void of God. We'll fill that void with promiscuous sex. We'll fill that void with just about anything. Technology. We fill it with anything because we have that need to know Him. Because He put that need inside of us. He didn't have to put that need inside of us. It's there for a reason. To know Him. And the farther we push ourselves away from Him, the farther we get into the darkness, the deeper into the darkness, and it really is a feeling of hopelessness. The closer you get to him, the more purpose and more hope and more just fulfillment in life you get. I know obviously my story is unique to me, but for me, I've tried so many things. I've always believed in God. I've believed in Christ, but I've had doubts. I've had so many doubts. So I believed just because I was brought up to believe mainly. But I'm so glad I was brought up to believe, because that put me on the road to knowing what I know now and having this connection with God that I do now, having this relationship with God. So again, where does Christianity fit in? I mentioned, how do we relate to a God that is outside of time and space? It seems impossible. I mean, we can just say, we'll never know him, so we just, okay, that's God. I mean, he created everything. He's all powerful. We just assume he's there because what other explanation is there? And we just worship him. But no, God wanted us to know him. He wanted us to have that personal relationship with him. That is why we have this in our minds, and that is why we feel that way when we push him away, when we get farther from the way he wants us to live, the way he wants us to feel, the way he wants us to take every step. Because in this world, every step is a trust fall. Every single footstep. We don't know what is going to happen. We could fall and just collapse. We could take a step and the sun explodes and we're all dead. You can think about the endless possibilities of the bad things that can happen to you and put yourself in such a deep state of panic that you just never recover from it. I've had so many anxieties of things that are going to happen in the future, things that might happen. They may not happen, but they might, because anything can happen. And I've had so many bad things happen that I just started to figure, hey, nothing good's going to happen anymore because it's just all these bad things happening over and over and over again. But since God wants to know it, how is the best way to know him? And this is the religion that it seems like all the other religions just despise. Maybe because it was so popular, because it was so profound. And that is Christianity. So since we can't know that being outside of time and space, and we can't know that being that created everything, that omnipotent, all-knowing, all-powerful being, he said, I'm going to make myself flesh and blood. I'm going to walk with the weakest and the poorest, the disabled and the meek among you. I'm going to show you that I might be above, but I am still among you. You are me and I am you. We are together. Because I am your creator does not mean that I don't relate to you. You are part of me. Get to know me through the man of Christ. Watch me suffer for every single sin, because I understand human nature, because I created it, and I gave you free will to do what you want. And yeah, we might be all going to the same place no matter how we react to things. And yeah, it might be there for a reason, the things that happen, but we still have free will to decide. And that free will leads to dark times, leads to evil. And really, the chaos in the world that God is fighting We ask, why does God allow bad things to happen? And why does God allow darkness in this world? Innocents suffer. God has been fighting against the darkness since the beginning of time, literally. He started against nothing but darkness, nothing but nothingness. He turned that nothingness into this beautiful, miraculous universe that contained all the seeds of life. He wanted us here for a reason, or he would not have created us. God can do anything. Why would he allow us to suffer? Why would he let us break down on the side of the road in the middle of a pouring down rain? And why would he let us break our ankle when we're walking miles from in the woods? Why would he allow any of these bad things to happen? Why would he allow children with cancer to die? Why would he allow that? Just because he created it does not mean he wants it to happen. He knows that it has to happen. Evil has to exist. Darkness has to exist because he has dealt with it from the very beginning. And my theory has always been, maybe we're in training to be divine beings just like he is. Maybe we are going to transcend. It's probably going to be a very long time because it's hard to tell how much our soul has experienced, because we could have lived who knows how many lives. We could all just be one big soul, all of mankind, just split into different aspects. But I believe we are training to be divine beings like he is. So we have to know that struggle that he went through in the very beginning especially, but all the way through. We have to know how to overcome darkness. Or else, what's the meaning of any of it? What's the meaning of joy and happiness? What's the meaning of anything without darkness? And what's the meaning of anything without God? It's true, God could make a utopia on earth. He could. Where would that get us? What would that teach us? It would teach us absolutely nothing. That utopia would be... We've seen near utopias in... Now, I'm not saying that it was a utopia, but I'm saying we've seen times of peace in nations that have just led to just complete disgusting evilness. I mean, take ancient Rome. Ancient Rome, those Romans had it so good because all the wars they were fighting were outside of Rome. So inside of Rome, you obviously had human nature at work, but you had basically orgies and whatever the hell they had going on, just like we have in our country right now. Just like we have really all over a lot of civilization, except for it seems like the poorer countries who are still struggling, those countries still cling closer to God because they still understand that God is their only answer, their only way out of that hell that they're living. And they might not have the same take on God as others, but we all have that desire to know God, to be with God. As I've mentioned before, the George Harrison song, My Sweet Lord, I really want to know you, Lord. I really want to meet you, Lord, but it takes so long. It does take so long, it seems like. And that's when we usually just give up hope. I really want to know you, Lord, but it takes so long. I'm at the point where I want to know everything about God, anything he'll show me. I'm here to take whatever he shows me and just cherish it and just do whatever he shows me and try my best. And I've got human nature too. And I'm not going to be anywhere near perfect, and I'm not going to try to be, but I'm going to do my best to follow what I see from his messages and what I see is the best way forward in a godly way, more like Christ, who is the example that he gave to us. He is God as man. He shows us love and compassion, especially for those who need help the most. Why didn't Jesus go to the kings and the queens and the royalty? Why didn't God go to the higher ups in the religions and the higher ups in everything? He could have just gone there and been like, hey, I'm God, spread the word. No, that's again, what does that teach us? With Jesus, he taught us so many things. So many things. And the Bible is a roadmap to the soul. It really is. We think it's all these little allegorical stories, and most of them are allegorical stories, but they are divine because they teach us so much. I've been looking a lot at, and I want to do a longer video on this too, about Jacob and how he wrestled with an angel. He wrestled all night with an angel, and he finally beat that angel in the wrestling match. And then he saw God in a place called Pineal. And what's funny is the pineal gland, it's spelled a little different, I admit. The pineal gland, though, is a place where we don't really understand it. It produces like DMT, which is a psychedelic substance naturally in our brains. And so when we connect with God, maybe we connect with him wholly in a place called pineal, our pineal glands. Maybe that's where we see him. Maybe that's what the Bible is trying to teach us there. And Jacob saw a ladder that went to heaven. I call it the stairway to heaven. And he saw angels coming up and down that ladder. See, I think that there is a earthly realm, a spiritual realm, and a divine realm. And that divine realm, you can't get to it without going to the spiritual realm unless you have a stairway to heaven. And what is that stairway to heaven? What is it? It's Christ. Christ is a direct route through the spiritual. Yeah, you can look around and see the spiritual. It's good to know because there's lots of mystery and lots to find out there. But you get lost there. You get lost in the darkness. You can find light there, but you find so much darkness. So if you take in that light in the spiritual realm, you're taking in darkness too. There's no way around it. The yin and the yang, you're taking in both. But with a divine being like Christ, he carries us straight there. He is the stairway to heaven. He is Jacob's ladder. There's all these things that we can find in the Bible, and it speaks to us all in such different ways. Such different ways, because it's so... It is... There's nothing like it. There are religious texts all over, but there's nothing like the Bible. There really isn't. It tells us so much about ourselves and our relationship with God, and really, that is all that matters. None of this earthly stuff matters. Yes, we are here to experience it. We are here to overcome this darkness. We are here to learn our lessons. But what really matters is how we interact with God and our relationship with God. That is the number one thing. Because you won't know yourself. You won't know true love. You won't know any of that stuff. You won't know how to get rid of your fears of death. You won't know any of that stuff until you have that relationship with God.